Oh, the wailing. Oh, the moaning. Oh, the gnashing of the teeth. Elon Musk taking over Twitter has people very, very hot and bothered over on the left, including many of the people who work inside at Twitter. So the media, of course, very upset because their favorite playground, the place where they trade all of their insults for the right in an echo chamber protected by the algorithms of Twitter, those are going to go away. Those algorithms are going to change. People might be allowed to criticize them. People might tweet things they don't like, and those tweets might actually get attention. I will note that over the past 48 hours since the announcement that Elon Musk was taking over Twitter, I've personally picked up something like 200,000 followers on Twitter, and my tweets are probably getting 10 times the exposure that they were getting before. I would think that that has something to do, not with Elon Musk actually changing the algorithm, but with the sort of document shredding that is going on inside Twitter right now. The fear is that Elon Musk is going to come in. There will be some sort of Truth and Reconciliation Commission where we finally learn who was shadow banned and whose traffic was being throttled and all the rest. And so now, all of a sudden, some of the limits are coming off. I would imagine that's one of the things that's happening. Twitter is lying about this, I think. They're saying that this is all organic. So the loss of followers for Taylor Swift and the consummate pickup of followers for people like me, that's all organic. That right-wingers are joining the platform by the hundreds of thousands and left-wingers are leaving the platform by the hundreds of I have serious doubts about that. I've more confidence that it's algorithmic in nature. But here is the bottom line. For a lot of folks on the left, this is a tragedy. And the fact they're treating it as a tragedy demonstrates what they always thought of Twitter secretly. They kept saying, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. You say that Twitter is biased against conservatives. That's because you're crazy. It's because you're projecting. It's because you're paranoid. And then the minute Elon Musk comes in and he says, you know what? We're going to just let people see what they want to see. The left goes absolutely ape-bleep. And of course, this means that they pull out their favorite rubrics. They talk about how this is going to lead to increased violence. If people are allowed to see things, this might lead to increased violence. We get accusations of evil racism from Elon Musk. And it's led by some of the people who are working for Twitter. I mean, as I said yesterday, when Elon Musk comes in, he needs to clean house. And people are like, oh, you're saying he should fire people over politics. I'm saying he should fire people who are not in consonance with his vision, because this is what every CEO does at every company. Some of the internal audio from the chief operating officers at Twitter before Musk's takeover should be disturbing to Musk when he comes in. So that includes Leslie Berland, the CMO over at Twitter. This is audio that was revealed by Project Veritas yesterday, a leaked audio of internal meeting, April 25th, 2022. Here's Leslie Berland, the CMO of Twitter.
Elon made it clear in public that a large part of the reason he bought the platform was because of our moderation policies and disagreements in how we deal with health. This puts Twitter service and trust and safety, as well as anybody who cares about health on the platform, in a very difficult position.
I believe Twitter grows as a service,
Is
allows
Parag
more
Agrawal, the
people
CEO?
to use the product and have a better experience, because we're able to make the conversation on Twitter be safe, because we have built tools, processes for people to be able to feel safe and control their experiences.
Okay, control their experiences is the whole point. No, you can't. You can't. I mean, you can mute accounts. I mute accounts all the time. I never block anybody. Everybody's free to see whatever I tweet, but I don't have to hear from them because, frankly, I don't care what many of them say. But the folks over at Twitter, when they say that you can control your user experience, no, you really can't. You really can't. They decide what gets exposure and what does not. They decide what trends and what does not, and how it will trend. And when you hear the CEO talking about safety, and when you hear the CMO, the chief marketing officer over at Twitter, talking about health and how troubling it's going to be that someone's going to come in and challenge the health of Twitter, they're saying that their way of policing speech makes for a healthy conversation. And if anybody else wants less policing of speech, there will be a lack of health in the conversation. Who decides what makes for a healthy conversation? You? The Twitter employees who donated at a 98.7% clip to Democrats in the last election cycle? Might that have something to do with the internal political bias? Meanwhile, the top lawyer for Twitter was apparently openly weeping during meetings yesterday. According to Politico, Monday was an emotional day at Twitter, even for its executives. Shortly after billionaire Elon Musk bought the powerful social media platform, top Twitter lawyer Vijaya Gadde called a virtual meeting with the policy and legal teams she oversees to discuss what the new ownership could mean for them. Gadde cried during the meeting as she expressed concerns about how the company could change. So, I mean, first of all, great sign that you're running your company well, that you're crying during meetings. I'm sorry, but if you cry during business meetings, I don't think that you should be in a position of power. I don't know why this is controversial. This is not sexist. Men shouldn't cry during meetings. Women shouldn't cry during meetings. They're meetings. I run a company. never have cried during a meeting. Neither have my co-CEOs, neither of any of our top executives. Crying during meetings is not a thing. But in the emotional world of corporate America, now crying is a thing. Okay, Gaddy cried during the meeting as she expressed concerns over how the company could change, according to 3 people familiar with the meeting. She acknowledged that there are significant uncertainties about what the company will look like under Musk's leadership. Twitter spokesperson Trenton Kennedy said Gaddy became emotional when discussing her team's impact and the pride she feels in them. Yeah, I have doubts about this. Sources confirmed she spoke at length about how she's proud of the work her team has done and offered employees encouragement, urging them to keep striving to do good work at the company. Gaddy, who has worked at Twitter since 2011, is the key executive charged with overseeing Twitter's trust and safety, legal and public policy functions. She is seen internally as Twitter's moral authority. Wow, so she is the great arbiter of truth, safety, and morality over at Twitter. So excellent job so far, lady. And the executive tasked with handling sensitive issues like harassment and dangerous speech. Dangerous. Gaddy played a leading role in negotiating the deal between Twitter and Musk, according to one person familiar with the dynamics. She has shepherded Twitter through some of its most contentious political battles, including the decision to remove all political advertising and boot Donald Trump from the platform in the wake of the January 6th attack on Capitol Hill. But as news of Musk's official takeover broke, policy and legal employees fretted at the meeting about what his leadership could mean for Twitter's carefully crafted online speech rules. I love that now we're going to pretend that Twitter's carefully crafted online speech rules have been such a wild success. Twitter has been just an excellent example of healthy and decent conversation. Now, everyone knows that's a joke. If you use Twitter, Twitter is just a place to dunk and be dunked upon. It is probably the worst cesspool for political speech in American political life. So this idea that their algorithmic magic has somehow cleansed the conversation and improved the quality, if you spend 5 minutes on Twitter, you know that ain't true. One Twitter employee said, I think everyone at Twitter, regardless of how they feel about the news, is feeling reflective and emotional. We've gone through a lot in the past 2 years. I think it's generally instigated a lot of reflection. I think this was more of an acknowledgement of the uncertainty everyone is feeling right now. I'm sorry, it's so boring. And your feelings are so boring. I don't care about your stupid feelings. You get paid to do this. And now a person is coming in who says that he wants to allow people to speak more freely on your platform without you putting your thumb on the scale. And you're getting emotional. Wow. Well, get the world's smallest violin for this gang. Gaddy herself has advocated strongly for ensuring that Twitter's policies protect its most vulnerable users while protecting free expression, a position at odds with Musk's. This is because the phrase protecting its most vulnerable users, there's a lot of assumptions packed into that little phrase. Protect its most vulnerable users. What they mean by this is that if you fulfill an intersectional quotient, if you are a member of the Black community, if you are a member of the Hispanic community, if you're a member of the LGBTQIA2S minus divided by a sign, caret, $, hashtag, pound sign, tilde, community, then this means no one can be allowed to say things that offend you. And people yesterday on Twitter were experimenting with this. They were saying things like controversial things like Leah Thomas is a man to see if this got them banned. And shockingly, it did not. Oh, woe betide Twitter. Oh, the sackcloth and ashes. Oh, donning the torn raiment of mourning and standing in the city gates crying to the sky. Why, Gaia, would you allow such a thing? This is the attitude that the left has decided to take about Elon Musk saying that it's okay if you say Leah Thomas is a man because Leah Thomas is in fact a dude. Gaddy wrote in a 2015 Washington Post op-ed, quote, I'm often inspired by the vigorous debates on controversial issues that occur on Twitter, but I've also been seriously troubled by the plight of some of our users who are completely overwhelmed by those who are trying to silence healthy discourse in the name of free expression. Man, is that an Orwellian phrase? Silence healthy discourse in the name of free expression. You are trying to silence discourse by quashing free expression. You're just using the word healthy to smuggle in the limits that you want on free expression. She said, at times, this takes the form of hateful speech and tweets directed at women or minority groups. Because, as it turns out, men never receive hateful speech at all. Ever. I know that on Twitter, I'm treated with the greatest of kid gloves. No one ever says mean things about me on Twitter. I spend every night weeping in my room because of the things people, or alternatively, I don't give any craps about it at all. At others, it takes the form of threats aimed to intimidate those who take a stand on issues. Oh, you mean like the threat to ban people for saying that men are not women and women are not men? Gaddy holds one of the most controversial positions at Twitter, says Politico. Her teams decide how to moderate content. That has made her a target of right-wing criticism. No matter what we do, we've been accused of bias, she told Bloomberg News, leaving content up, taking content down. That's become pretty much background noise. So perhaps you should actually, make your algorithm public. But she would never do that because then we might actually find out what they've been banning. During her team meeting, Gaddy fielded concerns. Several employees left the debrief with a renewed sense of loyalty to her. Wow, loyalty. Okay, if this lady's record is any indicator, Elon Musk should put her on the breadlines immediately. Senior public policy associate Kennedy O'Brien said, if you look up the word inspiring in the dictionary, you find a picture of this woman. Grateful as ever for your leadership, Vijaya. Couldn't feel luckier, tweeted Camino Rojo, Twitter Spain's head of public policy, government, and philanthropy. So when I said yesterday that Musk should fire a lot of people, he should fire a lot of people. Meanwhile, naturally, you have the Democrat media complex swinging into action to try to somehow stop Elon Musk from doing what he wants to do here. So you have Chuck Schumer, one of the worst liars in American political life, coming out there saying, Twitter's a dark place. I hope it doesn't get worse. I hope Elon Musk doesn't make Twitter a worse place. It wouldn't be healthy then. We need somebody moderating these things, says Chuck Schumer.
On Elon Musk, I would say, look, in many ways, Twitter has been a dark, dark place. I hope it doesn't get any darker.
Oh, wow. I mean, if there's one person who is deeply involved in making the discourse better, it's Chuck Schumer, the senator from New York. Meanwhile, Brian Stelter, who his entire career has been getting no ratings on CNN, so far as I'm aware. So Brian Stelter, whose massive draw, I mean, just his intellectual draw, his physical magnetism, it's that animal magnetism of Brian Stelter, drew a grand total of 0 people to CNN Plus, which just had to shut its doors. By the way, you know, it's super funny. So CNN Plus, actually, in one of their recent articles about the shutdown of CNN Plus, they suggested that in order to support CNN Plus, eventually, they'd be aiming at getting 29 million people to subscribe to CNN Plus. Yeah, man. You don't have a show on your air that gets over 500,000 viewers a night, but you're going to draw 29 million people to subscribe. Anyway, Brian Stelter, the chief media correspondent for CNN, he says that he's lecturing Elon Musk about how he doesn't understand the complexities of free speech. Says Brian Stelter on CNN.
Based on his public statements, it's clear he has a very little understanding of the complexities that go into content moderation and hate speech policies and the like. So he's about to learn how it works, and it might be a whole lot more complicated than he realizes.
Well, I mean, first of all, I have a feeling that some people will be working for Elon Musk. He's not going to be personally like shadow banning people. But also, definitely Elon Musk, who is the richest person on planet Earth, needs to take advice from Spud over here. That's definitely a thing that he needs to do. Meanwhile, Joy Reid over on MSNBC doing what she does best with Jason Johnson and just calling people racist, because this is, in the end, the final preserve of the left is everyone I don't like is a racist. Everything I don't like is racist. So here is Joy Reid doing that routine. It turns out the reason Elon Musk is upset about the shutdowns of free speech on Twitter and the shadow banning and the bottlenecking and throttling of traffic, what that's really about is that Elon Musk is secretly a racist. Here we go.
There was a time when people had the double hashtags around their names because they were Jewish, and right-wingers were saying, get in the oven anytime you made any benign comment on Twitter. They attacked women. The misogyny was crazy on Twitter for a while. Elon Musk, I guess he misses the old South Africa in the 80s. He wants that back.
Oh, that's what it is. Nailed it. He wants that back. That's what he wants. Okay, so as the person who is targeted the most anywhere on earth in 2015, 2016, with the triple parentheses, wasn't double, it was triple parentheses, and the get in the ovens kind of stuff. Let me just say that the content moderation on Twitter has not made life markedly better. Okay, they've just suppressed major breaking political stories. By the way, yesterday, Elon Musk said publicly that he thinks it is bad to shut down major political stories a month before an election. And people on the left were like, now that he said that, he probably voided his deal. No, he didn't, you morons. And good luck with that argument. You're right. Probably the Twitter board is going to turn down $44 billion with a B, $1 billion for a company that is yet to break a profit because Elon Musk said something that every single human knows. Meanwhile, Sunny Hostin, another one of the geniuses over at The View, where the collective IQ does not add up to triple digits. Here is Sunny Hostin explaining that, what this is really about is for freedom for straight white males.
Twitter is not the real world. And in fact, on Twitter, it is predominantly straight white men. So when Elon Musk says, wow, this is about free speech, it seems to me that it's about free speech of straight white men. And so let them have it. Let them just go at it. I enjoy the block button on Twitter.
Okay, well, I mean, by the way, that last part, She's free to use her block button. But the fact that she's so upset because straight white men don't deserve free speech in the view of the left. She's giving away the game right here, is that Elon Musk wants speech, but only for straight white men. No, he wants free speech for everyone. You are just making clear that you know that Twitter was not a place for free speech for straight white men. It was for everyone who held your point of view and mirrored left-wing perspectives. Really is incredible stuff. Elon Musk correctly tweeted, quote, "The extreme antibody reaction from those who fear free speech says it all." Correct. This is absolutely right. This, of course, is absolutely right. He says, by free speech, I simply mean that which matches the law. I'm against censorship that goes far beyond the law. If people want less free speech, they will ask government to pass laws to that effect. Therefore, going beyond the law is contrary to the will of the people. That seems fairly inarguable, right? He is saying that he is not the great all-knower of the public opinion on free speech. And therefore, he is going to reflect what governments in various areas say about free speech, which, again, seems like a much better and clearer standard than some lawyer for Twitter deciding what is a healthy conversation. You must have your vegetables. Have that healthy conversation. Again, Twitter is a place for unhealthy conversation if you've ever spent more than 5 seconds on the actual service. But again, the left's wailing is beyond the pale. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date with all our future content.